Isn't a Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud debate necessarily, as much as it is a Bryce Young versus narrative debate. I don't pay attention to those people. The people that make it about Stroud versus Young. You know, one of the things that pains me when it comes to narrative shaping is that even when you have evidence to change the narrative, right? Or the narrative wasn't necessarily something that existed, maybe it's something you wanted to exist in the first place. You can use whatever point you want, whether it be a stat or, history or anything like that, to suggest that one situation for one person could shape or be shaped by what history tells us, right? And in the case of Bryce Young, that's like something that is probably going to be linked to his career the entire time he's a pro in the NFL, despite how, successful he may become, or it'll be something that'll be amplified if he ultimately is not successful, right? And it always ties to size, arm strength, those kind of things, and even durability, right? Even though we really have no evidence to suggest or support that Bryce Young couldn't be a durable quarterback for the next 10 years, or that he doesn't have the arm strength to be able to drive the ball down the field. Clearly, we saw that this week. There's a few misses and things like that over the course of the season so far, but by and large, I think he's answered a lot of questions that people have. But of course, the goalposts will start to be moved, and, whatever other narratives will be shaped as a result of, just fanship or things that you see. And I think that this week, though, played a key pivotal role in helping Bryce to be able to, at least to a certain sect of fans. Like, I don't really care. Like, when it comes to outside opinion, I don't really care too much about what the outside thinks. And and if I'm honest, I don't really too much care about what people inside the fan base think, because I'm not one of those people that's like, going to teach you or try to make you fan a certain way. Like, if you don't like Bryce, you don't like Bryce, right? If you like Bryce, you like Bryce. If you're in the middle, which is probably where I would land, I do like Bryce Young, but I'm not so fanatic where I can't say, okay, I'd like to see maybe this or this be better. But I'm also not at the point where I'm like, 5-6 games into his career, like, oh, this ain't working, But there are certain narratives that are going to be shaped about Bryce Young. And I found this interaction between Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Skip Bayless really, really interesting when it comes to no matter what happens, no matter how good it looks, no matter even what you see that could change the way that you would shape a narrative, this is always going to be the way that they think about it. Listen to this here. This is pretty interesting. Check it out. So I watched this on Undisputed the other day, and I thought this was very interesting. Let's take a listen to this dialogue between these guys.
Based on yesterday's game, no. Based on the course of the season, no. Based on college and assessing them before the draft, no. I like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's had a better year than Bryce Young, and they both on bad football teams, so it's not like all of a sudden they got Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith in the backfield. No, it's not like that.
Yep. They may not have Michael Irvin or Emmitt Smith or any of those other guys in the background, but let me tell you what they did have. 110 rushing yards. Far more receiving yards. Well, no, actually, Bryce had more receiving yards as a quarterback, I should say. Much more protection. Our guy was sacked 6 times. It ain't as bad a situation in Houston as you think.
Both are trying to find their way in the National Football League. I just don't necessarily like smallish, slight quarterbacks. I've been used to big dudes my entire career.
Yikes. That's a whole nother video in and of itself.
And the big dudes excel in this league for a reason. I mean, it is what it is. I understand Bryce Young did some phenomenal stuff at Alabama, and, hats off to him, all of those things. But when I look at C.J. Stroud, he did some stuff at Ohio State, too. Why?
Agreed. And this isn't, let me say this. This isn't a Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud debate necessarily, as much as it is a Bryce Young versus narrative debate. For me, anyway. There's going to be people who make it about Stroud. That's goofy. I don't pay attention to those people. The people that make it about Stroud versus Young, I just don't think it's a real legitimate narrative, because I think both of these guys can be great. For example, we've seen a draft where 2 guys that were solid went on to have a lot of success. Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, right? Ben Roethlisberger saw his success much earlier. Eli Manning much later in his career. But they both ended up with 2 Super Bowls. A lot of team success. A lot of individual success, right? So the same thing could exist here between these two guys. But one guy, unfortunately, is pegged against another guy because of something that he can't even control. However, I will say this. This is interesting. One guy, I've been told the whole time at 5'10", can't see over the line of scrimmage. But the other guy at 6'3" had 4 batted passes. One guy has been clean and protected the entire game. The other guy, not the entire game, but the majority of the game, I'll say. The other guy was sacked 6 times. I was told his 195 or 200-pound frame, whatever that was going to look like from combine to what it looks like now, wouldn't hold up in the NFL. And I've seen Bryce Young. Now, listen, do I think it can hold up long term? I don't think it can for anybody when you're getting smoked like that. But again, we don't have evidence to support the narrative that's going to exist for this kid's career. If he ends up being a perennial Pro Bowler, if he ends up being a Super Bowl winner, there's always going to be some sort of narrative or some sort of point, a goalpost move to try to support the fact that this kid can't be successful despite his size. And it's nuts.
Why people felt that he shouldn't be the number 1 overall pick, I don't know. But he certainly has been cooking and on pace to be Offensive Rookie of the Year in this league. So yesterday, he didn't win. He didn't have great numbers. But if you look at over the course of the season, he is playing better football than Bryce Young.
I agree to disagree. 1,800 yards passing, no doubt. Stout numbers. About 500 of those after the catch. 60% completion percentage. Not horrible, but 60% is 60%. I remember people killing Cam Newton. Like, C.J. Stroud doesn't have the Cam Newton rushing ability, right? And the rushing touchdowns or anything like that, right? And again, I'm not taking away from this guy's success. But what I will say is this. 64% completion percentage on the other side here for a guy shorter, less weapons. There ain't no Tank Dell on this roster. There's no Nico Collins if you want to say Adam Thielen. Okay, cool. Tons of drops. And not for nothing. And this even came from more of the fan base than it did from outside the fan base. I can't tell you how many people I've seen destroying Bryce Young for deep passes that don't connect. I saw it twice yesterday. And honestly, if you're a Texan fan, you know that it's happened more than that. Again, this is not to suggest that C.J. Stroud won't end up being Rookie of the Year and he won't go on to have an excellent, excellent career. I hope he does. I love the kid. I think he's awesome. What this is to show that the 5'10" guy that everybody keeps saying to me, or at least the people that DM me and at me and all this kind of stuff, suggest to me that, oh, there's just no way he's going to hold up and be successful. All the things that you've told me we saw in one game. I saw Nico Collins overthrown twice. In one game, I saw 4 batted passes from the guy that 6'3", prototypical size. It's hogwash. It's hogwash.
And I think it played out perfectly. Honestly, I think it played out perfectly. I remember watching Bryce Young that first game. He started against Miami. I was right there on the sideline. I did the corn flip, right? Walked out in Miami. I was like, man, this dude. The first play of that game, they ran a receiver all the way across, right? Bryce throws by. I said, oh, my God, he's way off. He's way off. I said, oh, we got this kid. As I looked at that game, the receiver was way off. That dude ate us up that night. I was like, whoa, this kid is incredible. And I know his size is one thing everybody talked about.
I think the same thing, Irv. I saw that too. And he's talking about, Bryce Young's first season starting, which was incredible. 47 touchdowns, I think 9 interceptions, 65, 66 completion percentage. It was crazy. We saw similar with CJ. CJ had over 70% completion percentage his first year as a starter, which was nuts. But the point is that I can't continue to be fed narratives that this kid doesn't have in him what the other kid has in him, when all that's been told to us throughout the draft process, throughout preseason, throughout regular season, we saw play out the very things that we were concerned about play out on the other side of the field. Not to mention 110 rushing yards to our 44. Putrid. 6 sacks, starting a game-winning drive on the 9-yard line, completing an absolute stone-cold 4th and 2 conversion to go on and throw a ball to Chuba for a first down. Chuba runs for the first down, and we kick the field goal and win the game. I could take all those and those pieces that I see and combine those and say, you know what? This kid's going to be all right. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. I know this is my first video back. A little rusty, so I'll be getting back into it a little bit more as we go along. Health is starting to get a lot better, praise God, so I'm glad to be back. But let me know your thoughts below. I think that the narrative that exists for Bryce Young at being 5'10 and 195, 96, whatever pounds is a misnomer. I think that Bryce Young is going to be very successful in this league. That's just my belief. And but you let me know what you think below. Did we draft the right guy? Are you still a CJ guy? Which is, if you are, that's cool. Make sure to comment below, hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video. This is John from the One Carolina Show. Keep pounding.